Janet, let's open our book. I know you're concerned, but we need to move on. Okay, so back when, way when you started in elementary, you started with addition and then subtraction and then multiplication and then division. Where fractions are very different. See, multiplication and division of fractions are easy. Addition and subtraction of fractions are the difficult ones. Yeah, still hearing voices and I shouldn't. So when you're multiplying, you have the convenience of just multiplying the numerators together. Put down the answer. Multiply the denominators. Put down the answer. But when you're doing addition and subtraction, you have to find a common denominator. Now, often we're told that you must find the lowest common denominator, but the fact is you don't. Okay? You just have to find a common denominator, and that will help you guys a lot if you're not into finding or not able to find lowest all the time. Now, when you're looking at A, okay, we do not have to worry about anything. They are common. So this would be 1 plus 5 is 6. And then your denominators will always stay the same. And then you can reduce to be 3 over 4. Now, when we look at B, I'm not going to teach you how to do B like you've always learned how to do B in the past, because usually you're taught to do a lowest common denominator. Now, for some students, it's like, oh, crap, let's look at those so bad. I can't even do this question, right? So you're like 6 and 8, and you got to like 6 and 9, and it's 24. But what if your lowest common denominator, and I always do them underneath, is 6 and 8? I think it's kind of intuitive to say that 6 and 8 can go into 6 and 8, right? So that is, right now, that's easier for some students. Now, what do I have to do to this to make it into that? What did I have to do? Times it by 8. So just do the same thing to the top. Now this one, what did I have to multiply by? 6. So just do the same thing to the top. Well, if you would have had me, I would have. So now you multiply 5 times 8 is 40 over, now we can multiply it now, 6 times 8 is 48, minus 3 times 6, 18 over 48. And then you now go 40 minus 18 is 22 over 48. And you can reduce that. You can divide by 2 on each of them, or put them 22 over 48. Math, enter in your calculator. And you get 11 over 24. So I am going to use this exact method to teach you how to do all of these as we're going through the rest of this week. Because it's 4 more days, that's it. After Friday, nothing new in this course, right? Monday and Tuesday we're going to write our review and final. So now, let's just go. I know everybody loves reading all this stuff, but you can read that later. Now, let's start doing these, okay? Now again, there's always the 24 option. You can find what both of them go into. Or, if you struggle with that, then just make both of them the common denominator. So, we're going to determine those, and what are we going to do? Oh, we just got to determine LCM. But we don't really need to do LCM. Let's actually solve. Well, let's see if we could do LCM. What is 5 and 10, what do they both go into? What do they both go into? 10. Okay, they both have to go into it. So 5 goes into 10 and 10 goes into 10. Now what do both x squared and x go into? X squared. Okay, so that would be your LCD or LCM. Now I'm going to teach you later that you don't need LCMs, but that's what this is just talking about. And then what would be bad here? 0, and where here? So x cannot equal 0. Okay, so we're not going to do any math on these right now. We're just going to do... Now, B. B is an actual... B is a really easy one. What do both x and times x minus 1, what do they both go into? X bracket x minus 1. Do you see how this is in here? And do you see how this is in here? Okay, that's your LCD. And it said determine the NBVs. X cannot equal, what would be bad here? 1, and here? 0. Okay, and then that's 1 again. Now it's funny that the harder they get, the less you're going to be doing a LCM or an LCD. You're going to just go and do that process I showed you with just the 6 and the 8. Now, what is a common denominator of 5x and 5x? Okay, so that's a nice one. Now we're going to go and just put 12x squared minus 6x squared. Now, if you have 12x squareds and 6x squareds, you would get 6x squared over 5x. Now, what have we always done at the end was reduce. Can you reduce here? There's a 1. So the x's I can. So that would be 6x over 5. X cannot equal 0. 0 would be bad there, there, and there. Okay, now B is another example of, hey, denominator is the same. So we can write them both over. Now, whenever you are adding and subtracting, you can only add and subtract like terms. Okay? You can't go 3x minus 2x squared and go, well, that's like 1, I don't know, x to the 1. Right? You can't do that. Yep? It didn't. It's your imagination. Okay, so we have 5x plus 3x is 8x. 1 plus 1 minus 1, 0. All over x minus 1. X cannot equal 1. Okay, so life will not be that nice to you. No, they won't. Okay? They're not going to give them to you as nice common denominators. So, they should. Yes, I know. There's a lot of things in life that should, but they don't. Now, let's do common denominator. Now, I always do it underneath. That's the way I always learned it, like as a kid. So then, you know, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Yusuf, you with me here? Okay. I just need your eyes right here, okay? Now, what do both 4x squared and 6x go into? 12. Well, 4 and 6, yeah, I get the 12. 4 goes into 12, 6 goes into 12, and x2, because x squared goes into x squared, and x goes into x squared. So then, we can just go like this. Now, this helps me always keep this stuff straight, okay? Because I'm not changing the actual fraction. I am just making it over a common denominator. Now, what do you have to do to 4x squared to get 12x squared? No. Just got to multiply by 3, correct? Okay, actually, I'm going to put a dot. So you got to just multiply by 3. So we'll do the same thing to the top. So I will go 3 bracket negative 6x squared plus 5. Okay, I'm going to write that in blue. Okay. Now, what do I have to do to 6x to get 12x squared? 2x. So I'm going to put a 2x out front and just put the 3 there. Now, all of this is going to be over 12x squared. Now we want to take this 3 and you want to multiply it to here and here. That would be negative 18x squared plus 15, and then these two would be plus 6x. Okay, now, sometimes we're like, oh, good, I'm all done. Well, is there anything that we can factor out of the top? A 3. So that would be 3. That would be negative 6x squared plus 5x, or 5, sorry, plus 2x. And that's all over 12x squared. Okay. So I can now, do you see how I have a 3 up here? I have a 12. So I can divide each by 3. That'll give me a 1 and that a 4. So that's negative 6x squared plus 5 plus 2x all over 4x squared. What's my non-permissible? X cannot equal 0. Okay. Now, common denominator of 6y and 12y squared. So 12y squared minus 12y squared. And again, for me to keep straight, I go, okay, what do I have to do to 6y to get 12y squared? By 2y. So I will multiply this by 2y and then leave your 3y minus 7 there. This one, what do I have to do to 12y squared to get 12y? Times by 1, do the same thing here, so you get that. So now, all of this is all over 12y squared. So we want to multiply this in to there. So 2y times 3y, 6y squared. 2y times negative 7, 14y, minus 1. Now, can I factor anything out in front? No, not on this one. Any non-permissibles? Y cannot equal 0. Okay. Now, x times x plus 6 and x. What is something that both of those can go into? What's a common denominator? X times x plus 6. Do you see how x times x plus 6 is in here? And x is in here. Okay? So then we want to go like and do this step. X times x plus 6. X times x plus 6. What we're doing is we're just making the fractions equivalent before we can add them. Now what do I have to do to here to get here? Times by 1. So this we will just multiply by 1. Now what do I have to do from here to get to here? You have to times this by x plus 6. So I will also multiply this by x plus 6. Now, no, don't go canceling. People would want to do that because then I'm back to where I started, right? No, but people always want to do that. They go and cancel. I go, but we actually put it in there so we could now combine them. But if you cancel them, you're going to be back to the question, okay? Now, common denominator. So this is just 5x plus 12. Now, what would now follow it? 3x, and that's what a lot of people do. That's a negative 3. So that's a very, very, very common mistake. Okay, and they will have you ready for that one. They will have that distractor on the diploma. Okay, so they'll have one like this that's not that difficult, but they're like, hey, do you know there's a negative 3 in front, not a 3? So be very careful to circle the sign with it. So that would be negative 3x minus 18. No, just minus 18. Now, you have like terms because these two can get together. So 5x minus 3x is 2x. And I got 12 and negative 18 is minus 6 all over x times x plus 6. Now can I factor anything out of that top? 2. Good. Leaving me with x minus 3 all over x times x plus 6. Now this time it didn't really do much for us because we can't cancel anything. But you still have to try it. And then you want to do your non-permissibles. X cannot equal 0 and negative 6. Why do we take out? I combine them. They're like terms. I have 5 x's, I have negative 3 x's. That's 2 x's together. I have 12, I have negative 18. They become negative 6. So you always want to combine like terms in this step. Okay, so this one here is where many students in the province would just not be able to start. Okay? This is the one, when in doubt, do what I showed you that very first step, when I had the 6 and I had the 8. And I couldn't think of the 24, so I just put 6 times 8. Now, can you factor anything out here on the bottom? Just check that. No, you can't. So our common denominator is just going to be 2y minus 3 times 4 times y plus 1. What did I do? I just multiplied all the denominators together. That's going to be my common denominator. Will that work every single time? Yes. It will always work. Do you have to find the lowest common denominator? No. That's something they drill into you, but it's not true. Just find a common denominator. I guarantee you that's a common denominator because I multiplied all the denominators together. It will always be common. Okay? So whenever I have students that are struggling with else, I just do a common denominator right now and we'll reduce later. Okay? It's like when they give you 2 and 3 though, they want you to come up with 6, right? They want you to do that. But if you put 2 times 3, you'll get it anyway. Okay, so it may look a little bit messy, but it doesn't matter. So this is 2y minus 3 times 4 times y plus 1. This is 2y minus 3, 4, and y plus 1. Doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. Right? As long as you know this for your diploma. Okay? Now, what did I have to do to 2y minus 3 to get 2y minus 3 times 4 times y plus 1? I had to multiply by 4 and y plus 1, correct? And the negative 2 is just there. Now, what do I have to do to 4 times y plus 1 to get 2y minus 3, 4 times y plus 1? 2y minus 3, and then the 1. Okay, so does everybody see what I did? Whatever was missing, I just put it at the top. And kind of like Yusuf was saying before, can you cancel them out? If I cancel them all out, do I get back to my original equation? Yeah, so that's one way to check you didn't miss something. Okay, so you would obviously not want to do that step fully because you're going to find out you're back to the question again and you just wasted some time. But it sure helps you make sure that they are the same. Like these two are identical, believe it or not. Okay, it's like if I take 10 over 6 and I multiply by 2b over 2b, that's still the same fraction. I haven't changed it. If you do the same to the top and the bottom, same fraction, right? Okay, now my 4's and my y's look a lot alike. Okay, so now we have this common denominator, 2y minus 3 times 4 times y plus 1. Okay, so now we have to make sure we distribute it this well. This is 4y plus 4, and then the minus 2 that was just there. And then, now this is a plus here, so that's plus 2y minus 3. Now do you see that these are not that hard a question, not even that long and that big amount of work, because we're almost done. It's getting that common denominator. Now I've got a 4y and a 2y up here. Oops. I screwed up. That's times negative 2. Okay. So this is, now depending where you want to put your negative 2, you might want to put it out in the front and go negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So I'm not going to skip this step. Negative 8y plus 1 plus 2y minus 3. Okay, so I'm not going to skip that step, but I should have put it in brackets in the first place. Okay, always put it in brackets. That helps you do multiplication. Now back to being over my common denominator. Okay, so this is 8y plus negative 8y minus 8 plus 2y minus 3. Now, negative 8y and positive 2y is negative 6y. No, I got a negative 8 and a negative 3, which is negative 11, all over 2y minus 3 times 4 times y plus 1. Y cannot equal. What would be bad here? No, not 2 over 3. 3 over 2. Right? The trick is always bring this down here and then use the opposite sign. Okay? What else? Negative 1. Okay, so that would be your final answer on that one. So, yeah, this would be a top-end question on a diploma. That's a 4. You wouldn't add the y's. Negative 8y and positive 2y is negative 6y. Okay. Yeah, you will. Especially after you tutor that person. Okay. Now, this is another one that, again, if you know the one little thing to get started, they're going to be pretty easy. Now, this one you can make 3y minus plus 18 and y plus 6 be your common denominator, but it's actually easier than that. Will that work? Yes. But you could even make your life easier than this one. How can you do that? Factor the bottom. What would this be? Take out a 3, y plus 6. So now, what's a common denominator of 3y plus 6 and y plus 6? What's the common denominator? 3 comma y plus 6, right? They both. So you can see, if you factor it first, see, we couldn't factor any of the other ones. If you factor it first, these are pretty nice questions. Now, this one, what do I have to do to this to get this? Times by 1, right? So do the same thing as at the top. Now, what do I have to do to this to get this? Multiply by 3. Okay, and remember that next step, we put over our common denominator. Oops. This is like they always say, you always tape in front of the class. And I go, if I didn't, I'd get these all wrong anyway, right? Because when you're doing these, right, it's like same thing when you're doing it. A +1 turns into a -1, and you're just like, if I didn't do them in front of class, I'd have a lot of bad videos out there. People are like, oh, I don't want to make mistakes in front of the world. I'm like, who cares? Your students will correct you. Okay, so 9y plus 3y minus 3. Okay, now you can see these are like terms. So this would turn into 12y minus 3 all over 3 bracket y plus 6. Now, am I done? No. Why? You can factor the top. What can you take out? 3, and that would leave you with 4y minus 1 all over 3 y plus 6. Gone. It's 4y minus 1 over y plus 6. Y cannot equal -6. Okay. I just want to show you something quick, because like I said, on your diploma, what if you do all this work, right? Or on my written response, or like, I wonder if I got it right. And a lot of people don't know this. Maybe some of you do, so you're like, oh, okay. So in my calculator, I get my calculator to check these for me. So look at the question. I'm just going to do A. So always do in brackets. That's 5x plus 12 divided by x times x plus 6. I'm just putting in the fraction, and I'm going to shut that bracket, minus 3 divided by x. Okay, and I'm going to hit zoom 6. I don't know if I'll see it here. Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay, so that's the question. Now, if I go and I now go all the way to the left and I hit enter once, that's the dark line, and I will put in my answer. So bracket 2 times x minus 3. Can I shut that bracket? Divided by x bracket x plus 6. Okay, and I shut the bracket. This bracket here is for the, I guess I didn't need that bracket, but okay. Now, do you see how I have that one the thin line, that the thick line? If I hit graph, it didn't work. Did I plug in something wrong? Oh yeah. So I can insert. Okay, now I have too many brackets on that one. Yeah. Delete. Take 3. Please work. It's not working. Okay. 2x minus 3 over x times x plus 6. Yeah, I must have did the question wrong. 5x plus 12 divided by x times x plus 6 minus 3 over x. Two bracket x minus 3 divided by x. Yeah, let's try that. It should cover it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I forgot a bracket here. You should always be putting your entire bottom in brackets. But you can check it, and you can check all of them because they'll do the same graph over the other one. Now, you definitely want to practice these. Page 103 to 105. 1 to 6. Okay, so this is a pretty pivotal day. If you don't learn how to do this one, the next 3 days you won't know how to do. Okay? So, yeah, we're just going to be dealing with addition and subtraction the next 3 days.